This video is focused on HTML attributes, and HTML attributes are ways that we can add additional information to our HTML elements. So they take the form of a key value pair. You're going to hear that phrase a lot. It basically means a property and a corresponding value. So that might be something like source equals poster.png, class equals selected, type equals text/CSS. So don't worry with what those do, we're going to see them all in time, but it's this format of some word equals something in text. Mozilla Developer Network has a comprehensive attribute reference, just like it did for HTML elements, but this time it's for all the attributes in HTML. So the first thing you'll notice as I scroll through is that there are a lot of different attributes. And like with the HTML elements, you do not need to know all of these. In fact, most developers won't use 80% of these. So there's really a subset of 5, 10, maybe 15 attributes that developers use pretty often. It's also important to note that not every attribute works on every single element. In fact, most attributes work on 2 to 5 different elements. Some of them only work on one. So this second column here, it's the elements that it works for. So something like code, which is an attribute I've never had to use ever, but we can tell from here that it specifies the URL of an applets class file to be loaded and executed. And it only works on an applet element, which is also something I've never had to use before. But if we take something more common like source, which I'll search for, you can see that the src attribute works on quite a few different elements. Audio, embed, iframe, image, input, script, source, track, and video. And we'll actually be using the source attribute later in this video. So the key takeaway, there's a lot of attributes just like there's a lot of elements, but there's really just a few important ones. I'm going to start by highlighting two of those, which are source and href. And those two attributes are really important to images and anchor tags or links respectively. So images, really fun and important part of making a website. They're actually very short tags to write. You'll notice they look different from what you've seen before, where there's no opening and closing tags. There's no inside content. There's no inner HTML or inner text. Rather, we just have this single image tag that opens and closes and then a single attribute. So I'll show you how to do this. Let's start by, of course, finding an image. Go to some HTML document. Again, I'm just going to go back to what we've been working on, but this is clearly not some long-lasting site that we're going to really build up. This is just like a scratch pad for HTML. So let's go anywhere on the page and we type the word img. And then there's a single attribute that we must have, which is src. Then that stands for source, and it's the URL of the image that we're trying to make this tag use. So the URL can be something that is hosted, like this image here, but it could also be an image that is saved on my machine. It could be in the same directory that I'm in or in the same folder, in which case I would just reference it like poster.jpg. For now, we're going to deal with these online images. We will spend some more time talking about where we structure things and where we put our images and all that later on. So let me save this. Let's open this up. And there we go. We've got an image tag. So another tag that uses an attribute is the A tag. So the A tag stands for anchor tag. It's really important. It's how we create links to other web pages. It's how on Google, when you search for anything, every single result you click on, that's an anchor tag. Or maybe on some website when there's all the social media buttons, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those buttons are actually links you can click on and it will take you to another page. And the format is as follows: A tag opening and closing, some text inside, and then href attribute equals some URL. So I'll show you an example here. We're going to make an A tag, and this is just going to be linked to Google. So we're going to provide that href attribute. So href equals www.google.com. So that's where the link goes to when I click it. Of course, if I refresh the page now, I would actually not see anything. And that's because the link is invisible. There's no text, there's nothing to click on. So inside the tags, in the inner content, I'm going to say, click me to go to Google. Okay, so as you can see, it makes me a nice link that I can click on. Also, you'll notice that this is an inline element. It doesn't take up its own line and force content onto a new line below it. And this should take us to Google when I click on it, but it doesn't quite work. Take a look at the URL that it takes me to. File : and this is just the file itself, and then www.google.com. So without going into too much details, because we will cover this a lot when we get to the back end section, what's happening is that I'm on the file protocol, which is what happens when you just want to open a file. And when I click this link, it just thinks that I want to use the file protocol again and just go to www.google.com. However, I actually want to go to www.google.com on the HTTP protocol. So I have to make sure that my link is explicit. So when I refresh and I click me to go to Google, it now actually takes me to Google because I've specified that this should be https://www.google.com. With that said, I sometimes do want to link other pages that are not on HTTP. So I'll give you an example. So I'll make an A tag and I'm just going to call this go to page2.html, which doesn't exist, but I'm just going to create that right now. So I'll create a new file, save as page2.html. And this page2 is going to be really simple. It's just going to have a single paragraph that says, this is page 2. And I save it. And also note that they're in the same directory together on my desktop. So I have web page and page 2, and this link goes to page2.html. So I refresh the page and I see go to page 2 and I click on it, and you can see that my URL has changed. So this now takes me to the exact same place, except it's now page2.html rather than webpage.html. So we're seeing two types of URLs here. One is called a relative path, which means relative to where I am. So keep everything the same and then add a slash and then page2.html. Or it doesn't matter where I am because I want to go to Google. Completely different place. Both of them are A tags. So this type of usage is really common when you have, let's say, a portfolio site and you have an about me page and you have a page for your projects and your resume and your contact information. Those could be all different HTML files that you create and then just link them together with A tags. So to sum this up, we've got A tags, we've got image tags. Both of them use attributes, and attributes are just ways where we can pass information in. You follow this format, key value pair, something equals something in quotes.